There it is, 92. That is well, what's going on here? It's good, and this has become a real game changer in our production of yeah, I'll see you right there. 94.
Well, it is the 25th of Never May Tell in the year 1900 plus 121. Hello. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I'm going to tell you a story today. Yeah, we're going to get out of the politic range because that has just gotten too crazy for anybody to imagine. Although it is quite telling on itself. I have to tell you that much. But today I'm going to tell you a mythical story about a mythical fella who had a mythical young son who lived in a mythical place at a mythical time, sometime in the either near or far past or future. Now, this little fella's name is unimportant to you. So we'll call him, let's think of a good name for him. Names are important, you know that? So this fella, his name's Will. His name's Will. Will, you'll see why later, or you won't. It'll be one of the other. But Will was a young fella. He was actually born at a very young age. That's an old joke. I'll give credit for it whenever I remember who said it first. And he very quickly noticed that in his surroundings were things that were near to him. And he started to explore those things. And soon was the hit of the neighborhood. Now, I called this fellow, did I say I? It wasn't me. I'm going to use first person, second person, and third person. By the way, breaking the fifth wall like this is kind of fun. But I'll be using those interchangeably and indiscretionably, I'm sure. So this old fella, sometimes it's just easy to say I, because you're telling the story. This old fella, he had this kid. He wasn't really that old, by the way. He's a young kid. And he called the young fella, he is kind of really liked him a lot. He called him Bumby. So anyway, the people in the neighborhood started calling him Bumby Man, which becomes important shortly. The fact is that his old fella there, that was his dad, he called him Mr. Bumby because it just felt right. It did. And so Mr. Bumby became Bumby Man. Bumby Man, at the age of very young, had basically a diaper, a bottle of milk, and a cape, and a rattle, which was in fact, unbeknownst to most of the aware people in the world, this was no ordinary rattle. It was his private secret weapon, his master power from which he could unleash goodness and protect the downtrodden. Bumby Man's most famous pose was standing with one fist on his belt, much like the Lone Ranger, holding his rattle up high like a sword, with his cape furling behind him, while he stood atop a corner railing of his crib. From there, he would launch onto mighty adventures, freeing oppressed children everywhere, and taking down corporate bankers. He never was much for the corporate bankers. Nonetheless, much like an episode of Superman, where you see the young Bumby in his pose, And with the dun da da, it fades to, yeah, present day Will in a suit with a briefcase. This a very important briefcase, I might add, because in that briefcase he reaches in and holds up documents. Yes, documents. With these documents will be used so that truth might prevail. He, as Mr. Will, has many enemies, but none so insidious as his lifelong nemesis, the corporate bankers. Mr. Will knew that his struggle would always boil down to the corporate bankers. But nonetheless, Mr. Will became a mild-mannered architect in disguise. And when needed, he was Mr. Will. And Will get it done. Will took some hits. He took many hits. People didn't understand Will, so he had to stay undercover. But when Mr. Will came out, the community always became a better place. It's a struggle. Now, I know you're thinking, what does this story lead to? And that's a very, very good question. What this story leads to is that Mr. Will has taken an oath long ago. An oath that he spoke on the corner of his crib, standing with his rattle to the sky, saying, I will tell the truth. It's been hard, but it's been wonderful, amazing. And the fact is, there'll be more episodes coming, so stay tuned. You know this is going to get good.